Excellent, Emily. Really beautiful playing. Now, I have a question. As impressive as it is to play the second movement that fast, what about the animato and the più mosso? Because there wasn't an appreciable difference,
Yeah.
you know. I think that is also, you know, part of perhaps the set of criteria in it. It's true, it's allegro molto. It's not a presto, but allegro molto is fast for sure. But you know, presto would signify probably something else than allegro molto. It all practically implies, well, you know, very close, if not on the edge, you know. But the thing is that there are three levels of tempo. And you know, it's true that the basic tempo is allegro molto, but then we have the animato. And I think, I don't know if that's exactly what you meant to do, or if you realized yourself that it was faster than.
A little too fast.
Yeah. No, I mean, you can play it that fast, you know, and you know, that's credit to you. But I think in terms of the musical outlay of the movement, it's important to know that there are two levels higher, even if they're not huge differences, but that they are appreciable enough that you know they are part of the pacing of the movement. You know. Now, actually, I wanted to just look at the beginning of the piece with you. Okay. So, if you were just to play the melody line in the beginning, but with the same bowing that you use, meaning down, 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 how would that sound? If I could ask you to play. Just the top voice. The melody. Good. Now, to me, that is how we should release the chord. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Our tendency is to make a crescendo at the end, feeling that we're going to somehow bridge that gap, because actually what we'd like to do is play down, up, down. But we don't do it because we know playing up bow, and there are probably a lot of other ways. You could play down bow, split the second chord up, down. That's an option.
Yeah.
Pretty much try them all, right?
Yeah.
They're all bad. You know. So I think in the end, this is a good poem. And actually, there are other places in the literature where we play something that is a melody, but has a kind of declamatory quality, and we might play three downs, right? That's not such a shocking idea, that we don't sustain the note to its bitter end, right?
Yeah.
But we wouldn't necessarily make that crescendo, and I think it's also because we're going to play a chord. So maybe we don't always pay enough attention to the end of the chord, because we're anticipating the next one. You know, I think it's some of both.
Yeah.
You know, but I think to answer the sort of the question about how this beginning might be done, I think I would just ask myself how I would play it if it were just a melodic. And the same is true for the famous chords in the beginning of the Dvorak Concerto. You know, in the end, all it is a harmonized melody. You know what I mean. The clarinet plays it as a melody at the very beginning of the piece. We have it, you know, in this sort of risoluto character, you know, with chords, but that shouldn't, in fact, change the basic nature of that line. It's still a melodic line. It's more forceful when we play it, of course, and this is very forceful. But I think the nature of the line and the integrity should still remain. So let's try that. No extra swooshing.
Okay.
Okay?
I'll try.
one other thought, and this might actually sound strange to you, and I'm not sure this can be accomplished, but I'm thinking that in a way, the way we break the chord should not describe a rhythm. In essence, it will be broken.
Yeah.
But it's not di-ya, 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 da, da, you know? So I think in the breaking, if it's possible to break it in such a way that okay, the gesture has, in a way, two parts to it, but it forms one curve. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, so how can you mean just like one smoother motion?
Believe me, if I knew how to do it, I would.
Sure.
I'm just asking if you can do it.
Okay.
You notice I didn't demonstrate it. This is called teaching method. I asked somebody, an old friend once, do you always demonstrate in lessons? Well, not always. And what if it's a piece you don't play or you don't feel comfortable? Then I demonstrate how not to play it. These are the things you learn over the years. No, but actually, the thing is that, of course, we know this action is still going to take place, this 2 and 2. But within that, there is a way of creating a smoother curve with it. Probably thinking somewhere of the middle of the chord, you know, passing through the note on the D string to get up to the A, rather than this kind of thing, rather than coming vertically down on the top two strings. Yeah, yeah, something of that nature. And then, of course, with the 4-note chord, then you can actually think of 2, 2, and 2. That actually gives you an opportunity to feel something of the center of the chord, you know, rather than 2 and 2.
Okay.
You know, again, to pass through the middle of it, you know, by accentuating the middle 2 strings.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine. It would be a slower roll. Yeah, and a lot of it has to do with how you conceptualize your upper arm.
Okay.
You know, again, that you describe this deeper and smoother curve rather than anything resembling a sudden motion to the top. It's coming. And you have to tell me, because you know we're all different that way, but if you can bend your thumb, your right thumb, are you double jointed? That's what I thought. Now, I want to ask you, because I always actually, I wish I knew the answer to this question. This has come up before, right? To what extent can that be changed? For somebody, I'm not double jointed, so I don't know.
For me, I've absolutely always played this way, and when I try to switch the other way, it can last a very short while, but it will ultimately either slide through the bow or it will just get tense. Yeah, so I just.
So this is comfortable to you?
It's comfortable.
It doesn't create, yeah, okay.
Most of the
fine.
times.
Yeah, no, because I think, again, double jointed people have a certain other, you know.
Way of function.
Yeah, well, I think it's true.
Yeah, I
think it's
wish
true.
I could get rid of it.
Yeah.
I think it'd be easier to not have it, but.
Okay, all right. Let's
can
leave,
try to
let's
go
leave
now.
that there. No, it's okay. You've dealt with it, so I think, you know, I trust you for that. But I did want to ask you.
Yeah.
In any case, as much as you can, the feeling of cushion in the chord, however you get that, and you do, I mean, you get a very, you know, rich sound, so you're obviously you're finding a way to achieve that, you know. The more you can do that, I think the more you'll get that curve in the chord, you know. This feeling. How do you do that, by the way, if the thumb is bent that way? Are you just bending the other fingers?
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
I think
And
I
it works.
overcompensate at the time, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Okay, let's try that. So again, the 2-2. large sweeping gesture. Now, let's go on when it continues. Now, Emma, I have a little feeling that this one, to me, it's one phrase. It's a little bit separated into three parts. Da dee da 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 dee da 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 dum, dee da 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 dum, dee da da.
Yeah.
And in spite of the breath before the B, the fermata B, I wouldn't say the breath implies a new phrase. It's some type of suspension before that final, desperate, drop to the, but I think we don't want, in addition, a breath here. I think that's what ensemble, yes. If you play down bow, fine. But it's still in movement towards this. Okay. And just to be clear, there is no accent on the B, right?
Yeah.
Okay. If you put it in, we could discuss it, but it's not there, right?
Yeah.
It could also come from nowhere, rather than. I think that's the next piece, Shalom. Right?
Okay. Where do you want me to start?
Let's start at the beginning.
Okay.
What if you hooked? Now I feel like you're in total control of the timing. Here I feel like you have to think of timing and picking up the bow and bringing it back, So that just adds one other element to deal with. And if you, now I feel like you're the master of that. And in a way, it's a different expression. So this next thing can come whenever it wants, but it sort of closes it a little bit, and then, maybe from there. Just a suggestion. Whatever you do here, obviously the B is important and the E is important. What makes them truly memorable is the drop between them. So maybe you need to save more than that much bow just for the drop. Okay? Because the drop itself is dramatic. That requires some bow usage other than I'm stuck with what I've given myself, And actually here, you can do a great deal in the upper half of the bow, and you can give more pressure when you want, and there's no danger that the sound will crack. Where you need speed is as you drop.
Okay.
Because that's where the danger of cracking comes, right? And then you have to hold it back. And yet we don't want to hold it back there. So let's do from here. And now, if you want to make the crescendo, you could have made it even with the vibrato if you chose. You started at non-vibrato, so that's fine. And even before you start to give pressure, you have that in addition to what you do with the bow. So actually, you could spend 3 years on that. Yeah, but that's the point. You've given yourself a much greater expressive range to work within. And then, you're not sort of stuck with just this one thing because, well, there I am. I know what's going to happen if so there it is. I think that's important.
Okay.
Also in fingering choices, you know, sometimes you choose a fingering so that you could do one kind of shift to the next note, or another kind, because you're free to do both, or maybe more than just two, you know. That's also important, I think, you know, because how do we know these things in advance? We can have a fairly good idea of what we might do, but we've tried many different things, hopefully, you know. And depending on where you are at that moment, you have more possibilities. Now, when we continue, whatever you do, and of course it's ad libitum and so forth, I think he writes that, no? Yeah. But there's still some semblance that these are 16ths, all of them, maybe with some freedom. Because when they come in the fourth movement, you remember what he does. Those are eighth notes. Not usually played that way, but it's written that way.
Okay.
So I think that's significant. So that here, lines, etc., free, blah, 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 but something resembling a series of 16ths.
Okay.
Yeah. So I would say that was 2 eighths, then 6. Okay, that's what I mean.
Okay.
Could be hesitant,
Okay.
but
I see
still
what you're
something that relates to a sequence of 16ths.
Okay.
The long note being the arrival note, the F sharp here. Feels a little bit like you're feeling it like a downbeat. It's more like Bartok. You know. Like it's a question. You know? So it's not really assured at the beginning. You know, seeking, searching. Have you ever thought of trying alternate bowings rather than always 2 and 1? 1 and 2, half bars?
I messed around with it in the beginning, but
Sorry?
I did mess around with it when I was starting, but I feel like I still haven't found the perfect bowing to not have an accent on the up bow.
I don't feel like you make an accent. I think the thing is that obviously Elgar originally intended it to be that the phrasing is per bar. Then in the editions we have, there is that bowing. How it got in there, I don't really know. But I seriously doubt that when Elgar wrote, you know, notated this, that he put the slur plus the bowing. I'm guessing that crept in there at some point, and there it is. We got it. I personally wouldn't take that with as much, I wouldn't give that as much significance as the need to feel that it's bar by bar phrasing, you know.
Okay.
And if that's so, it's possible actually to vary the bowing. It's possible. Personally, I feel like the first bar functions as an upbeat bar, because the resolution and the harmony always comes in the second bar, in the fourth bar. So that half bars is an option. You know. But again, I think the only thing about the 2 and 1 always, it can set up another kind of phrasing by its repetition, that it no longer is felt as one in the bar, you know, just because it comes so much that way, you know. It's just the way I feel about it, but you know, that's something that you have to see, you know. Anyway, let's go with that. Maybe just for now, experiment a little bit and see, you know, since you've already tried that. cushion bars. So whatever, maybe this shouldn't start quite so positively, but starting as if it's going to the next measure. Experiment and see, but
do you just mean that?
What I mean is that the upbeat bars, the first bar, the third bar, to play 2 and 1, the downbeat bars, second and fourth, play half bars.
Okay. Oh, I see.
Because the up bow gives direction to the next measure, more than the half bar does, right?
Okay.
So that goes along with the harmonic flow as well. Okay. All right. And we skip to. Just a suggestion in terms of the character. Maybe not so sprightly, but rather wistful.
Okay.
You know, just imagine that you're, like they often are, stuck in your flat in London on a rainy day, you can't go out. And you're just looking at that rain thinking, it just doesn't end. It just doesn't end. How I would love to have a beautiful sunny day to go out into Regent's Park. You know, wistful. More like a sigh. You know. And on both notes. That's the thing. That's not completely unlike, I don't know if you were here for the Schumann. Maybe you were, yeah. But this idea that they belong together as a group. So accent on the first note, but it still applies to the second in a way because that's part of the gesture. So it's not just one active note and then, you know, so there's a relationship there, yeah. So say a little bit of that. Right there, just in your essence. Ask you one thing, because I noticed just a couple of moments when you played the piece through and you got very excited in playing in the upper register. You, like we always do when we play in the upper register, we get very excited. No, but that there was a little bit of this type of motion of your finger on the string. You know what I mean?
When I'm vibrating?
Yes. You're aware of this. Okay. Talk to me about that.
It's the same problem with the double jointed neck.
Is it really? But it wasn't collapsing. It was moving this way.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Because usually it's collapsed.
No, it wasn't
I
collapsing
think to
actually.
overcompensate,
But I,
maybe I
yeah,
I
like
used
that,
one.
like that.
Yeah, it's to overcompensate the fact that it just wants to buckle.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
and sometimes I do vibrate with the knuckle vibrato, but it's
Yeah,
more
no, but
tight.
actually I could see it much better up close now, and you were doing a little bit. But there were moments actually when, in fact, the sound lost its center. I can't do it as you do.
No, I know.
But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
How do you compensate for that? Because it seems to me at that moment, you need to feel something here to unify what's going on. And that actually, this kind of motion, there's an independence here that you don't necessarily want.
Yeah,
You want to feel this.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I try to get the weight on the top of the finger so
Okay.
that it doesn't have the temptation
Okay,
to collapse.
but what are you feeling in the palm of your hand? Anything special? That's what you need to feel,
I
I
guess
feel.
not. Yeah.
You need to feel some type of connection always between your playing finger and your thumb.
Mhm.
It's not a pressure of the thumb down on the string. And I wouldn't even say that it's a pressure of the finger down over the string per se, other than what we need. But it's actually a feeling of a unit between these two fingers, which shifts between each finger in the palm so that you can unify each finger with the thumb.
Okay.
You know, as if you were to hold something. As long as you promise to give it back, my wallet.
No guarantee.
And there's not much in there. But, you know. Yeah, so if you just take this, with each playing finger, you can shift, and just note how the feeling changes in your palm. Yeah, as you shift from one finger to the next, right? You can feel something is shifting here, right? Now, you're not squeezing between the thumb and the finger, but there's a kind of connection, right? I would say it's that type of feeling. In fact, it's almost identical to that feeling. Right. Maybe if you could just vibrate a couple of notes up there. Maybe with a little more force in the throat. Yeah, and make sure that you feel that clearly in your palm as you go from finger to finger. You know? Now, try to direct, if you can. I'm kind of grasping at straws here a little bit, but try to direct more energy, if you can, right to the contact point. Okay? Rather than thinking of, you know, this issue of the double jointedness. I just want to see what happens. You just think of, not in the other fingers, just the playing finger, but to direct more energy and power there.
Okay.
But to continue to feel this unit with the thumb. Okay?
Okay.
What if you do that? Just take one finger. Second is 5. Okay? And keep directing all your energy there. And maybe a little bit freer bow. So is the point that if you do this, it's going to do that? Interesting.
Yeah. It's
Okay.
really hard to compensate for.
Right.
I think mostly I try to feel the feeling is more like up here, so that I feel like I'm over the
Stay a
knuckle.
little bit
Yeah.
more vertical.
Yeah, it's more of like a curve
Uh-huh.
instead of if I pull my hand back at
Okay,
all.
that's interesting. Well, I learned something here. No, because actually, you know, it's a separate issue. You know, I have my own problems. You know, and but the point is that's something that without the experience, you know, of dealing with how, you know, there are always ways around everything. You know, so now I understand better how that works. Okay, good. But does that actually help at all? This feeling here?
Yeah, I'm gonna work on that. I don't really particularly pay much attention to this, I guess.
No,
but-
it's a rather esoteric thing, but I think it's helpful, you know.
Okay.
And you know, I think the point is that it gives some reference. It gives something other than this
Yeah.
to feel and help you maintain balance,
Yeah.
intensity. It's the right kind of intensity.
Yeah, because I
No.
hear it when it does it, and I feel it too.
Yeah. No, but look, you do great with it, and it sounds beautiful. Unfortunately, I think we're out of time, and the only thing I wanted to say about the second movement was just the tempo issue. The other thing, just an interesting thing, the whole recitativo leading up to the scherzo, you know, he's very, very clear about certain bars, the ritardando starting earlier. So, you know, it's rarely ever played that way.
Yeah.
But once, if you would really try, for example, the very opening, you know, it's ritardando, meaning it's not meno mosso, it's not fermata meno mosso, it's usually played fermata, meno mosso, which is not really ritardando.
Yeah.
Okay? It's possible. But then the next one is ritardando starting in the third beat, right? And it extends for 6 beats, and it's fermata at the end of that bar, right? So that's already different. Each one is a little bit different. Obviously, an attempt to make it sound improvised or, you know, free, like, you know, recitativo, as we do. But in a way, he kind of gives it all, you know? And it might be interesting just to see, really, just rather strictly what he's actually suggesting.
Yeah.
You know, because I think there's probably a reason and a lot of variety that could be created from that. Was there anything that you wanted to discuss or ask about?
No, I think
No?
I covered a lot.
Great, good, bravo, bravo.